like this comment. I'm gonna share it with you. I made a video a while back called "Why Some Americans Incorrectly Think Spanish People Aren't European." I received a comment from someone saying this, quote, "Yes, in Spain, you would look like an average Jose. But why is it so important in the United States that there's a difference? It looks that it is the most important thing in the world. I will never feel offended if someone thinks I am Mexican," end quote. So the takeaway from that for me was this implication, and I don't know, because obviously I've never been to Spain and I've never been to Europe. I've only been to Thailand, South Korea, Trinidad, Tobago, New Zealand, Ecuador, but I've never been to Europe. So with that being said, this is someone who apparently is in Spain, and there's almost this implication that in Spain, among Spaniards, that there's this concept that if you, quote, look Mexican, you are of lesser value in society. That if you have, I guess, what, darker features, is that the concept? You know, because I mean, my grandmother was a first generation Mexican American, and based on my DNA test results, she probably was something like 82% of the Native American, Mayan, Aztec, whatever you want to call it, and probably had very little Spanish DNA. Okay, so if you took people who are, quote, ethnically Mexican, and I know that people outside of America are going to freaking out when they hear that, because they're like, Mexican is a nationality, it's not an ethnicity. But remember, you're talking to an American, and we have a different perception of what it means to be Mexican. We don't care about the nationality. We're looking at the ethnic mix when we talk about it. So what I'm asking, though, is if someone was Mexican and they went over ethnically Mexican and went to Spain and they moved there or whatever, would they be perceived as somehow less valuable of a person because they weren't as light-skinned? Is that what's being implied here? I don't know. Because I am understanding, the more I make these videos, that people who are Mexican are going to have a darker complexion because they've got different DNA. If you ask me, Mexicans are biracial. They're a mix between that Native American, as I like to call it, along with European. That Asian descent, along with European. It's two different races. It's biracial, and you're mixing that biracial mix. And I get it. People in Spain are quite biracial themselves. They've got African DNA coming through there. They've got, you know, well, it's not a different race, but Jewish and Middle Eastern. And there's more of a mix in Southern Europe. But still, though, is it more noticeable when you have someone from Mexico end up in Spain and have that mix of that Native American that I've got 21.6% of, according to MyHeritage. So is that what's going on here? Is that how people do in Spain? That if you're darker, that you're seen as less valuable of a Spaniard? Or that, oh, he's really just a Mexican. He's not one of us. Is that how it works? And then someone might say, well, Nick, isn't that how it is in America? That if someone's a Mexican American, like, that they're seen as second rate? Well, I think that's a good question too, because I think it comes back down to this whole concept of being culturally white. Like I mentioned, AC Slater in Saved by the Bell. They hardly ever brought it up that he was of Mexican descent. He was just like everybody else on that show. You know, and I made a video talking about how Lisa Turtle, being a black American, I don't think that they ever brought it up. She just acted like a white girl, was treated like a white girl, and she just happened to be black. And same thing with AC Slater. Because I feel like back in the 80s and 90s, it was enough just to put diversity on the screen, but it was a whole other thing to talk about it. So I think there's a lot going on that we need to discuss in the comment section. But ultimately, I'm trying to understand, in Spain, if you have the features of someone who's, you know, more Native American via Mexico, is that something to look down on? I think here in America, I think it happens to do with more of how culturally white a person is, no matter what they look like. If they have a perfect American accent and are culturally like mainstream is, then people don't really care so much about how they look. They care more about how they act. All right, let's unpack that. Whether you're an American or you're Spaniard, surely I've said something that has inspired you to type. And you know me, good chance if you leave a comment, it's going to only encourage me. Don't feed the animals, it encourages them. Don't give me comments, it encourages me to make more videos.